Hello everyone, my name is Moonshine and I'm the host of today's AMA, and we have the team with us from XDB Chain, and it's going to be a very quite interesting AMA because these has to do with real businesses, brands and consumers in real life. So we would see how XDB Chain plans to integrate digital assets like branded coins, NFTs and payment tokens, as well as bridging into Web3 payment solutions. So we'll see in an overview of how the platform focuses on accessibility and fostering a community-driven ecosystem. So it's surely going to be a very interesting AMA. So before we dive into all of these that was just mentioned, Finn, can you kindly introduce yourself? Tell us more about the team behind XDB Chain, where you guys are from, and the history behind XDB Chain as a project.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking us and to expand the awareness of XDB Chain. My name is Daniele. I'm the founder of XDB Chain. The project launched approximately 1 years and a few months ago, October 2023, following I would say a broader project which started with in a different fashion across different developments, but officially XDB Chain started in October 2023. The focus of XDB Chain, it's simple to say, is difficult to do, which is essentially there are tons of brands in the world, brands meaning company doing whatever type of business, and almost none of them, or a very small percentage of them, less than 1%, 100% sure, using blockchain today. And the goal of the mission of XDB Chain is to bring these brands on chain. Okay. So, and to bring them on chain, it doesn't mean to do what, and is already doing very successfully, Michael Saylor and the Bitcoin community is doing, meaning leveraging definition of an asset like Bitcoin as digital gold and eventually embracing treasury strategy of brands to optimize their financials. This is not what XDB Chain is doing, saying, hey, XDB as an asset, it's scarcer, it's better, whatever, than gold. Rather than focusing at blockchain is a superior technology. So the benefits in using blockchain are essentially because blockchain is leveraged by Web3 communities, which empower brands to expand the awareness and the footprints of the product, the service that they sell. And essentially, we want to be one of the technology of choice for brands entering the Web3, leveraged by Web3 native communities, meaning crypto natives. And so what XDB Chain provides, it's a set of solutions from infrastructure, because it's a layer one, XDB Chain, up to product and applications which help brands to onboard and to scale within the blockchain. That's in 30 seconds or 1 minute, the overall mission of XDB Chain.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So now to start with, I think we should start with the ecosystem development, what you guys are focusing on. So the first question is, what are the key use cases or industries that XDB Chain is focusing on in terms of payment, NFTs, loyalty programs, and all of that?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So I would say the very first use case is provide, we call it a rich payment experience. Payment is not seen as a transaction. Essentially, you have to transfer value from A to B throughout a transaction called the payment in exchange of a product or service. That's the very basic definition of what the payment is, what is meant to be. What XDB Chain is capable of doing in addressing one of the main use cases is enabling value transfer where when a user or a member of the ecosystem of the community perform a payment, that payment enables something more. And the very first step that we have successfully taken is to provide the so-called crypto back with partner brands that use XDB Chain as a payment infrastructure. Essentially, there is an embedded, a programmable instruction within the payment aggregators to enable default crypto back. So it's a cashback in crypto in the native currency of up to 10%. It's programmable because this is subject to campaigns and specific marketing activities. But for now, on average, the cashback is between 5% and 10% of every transaction. So first use case is enabling payment, rich payment that provide very attractive cashback or crypto back. And how those crypto back or cashback are sustained, that's very simple. Because the time someone is using the network, the value for the network in using a payment use case is immense. So, and the crypto back or the cashback is highly justified by the token economic of the native coin that subsidize this transaction. That's the very first use case. The second use case is, we call it tokenized brands. Essentially, every brand that has chosen XDB Chain to be the layer of choice for a multi-year program, integrating their product ecosystem with the blockchain in a native integration. Essentially, they create a token which owns the same name as the brand. In this case, the token also brings the value of the brand within it. And essentially, we enable so-called brand tokenized transactions, which create not only the value because of the asset itself, but also because the brand ensure that this transaction is authentic and it fully leverage the value transfer that the brand established. For example, we have partners in the retail field, which enable payment transaction of goods and services. We have, for example, one partner is a streaming platform like Chili.com is a streaming platform like Prime Video or Netflix. Essentially, they provide this type of service and they provide exclusive advantages for those transacting in crypto. And again, this is a very valuable use case, even though Chili.com did not tokenize their brand yet on XDB Chain, is a valuable transaction because they provide services which provide exclusive offers using the blockchain, which is the first use case I just mentioned. We launched 6 months ago, approximately, the CoinBarPay token is the first branded token on the XDB Chain network. And now we are about to launch 2 new other branded token for the 2 major players, which essentially enhance what you just mentioned. So these tokenized brand interactions, in order to create, an effective proven use case or proven set of use case on the XDB Chain network, so as we can, I would say, we can inform the communities of how successful is tokenizing branded interactions within the blockchain. Having done the first 3 to 5 brands, established a set of trust within the chain where we can advocate these as a proven use case, so as we are ready to the next step of the growth, which is scaling up from 5 to more than 5. And then this is where we are really heading to, meaning right now we are at the beginning. So launching is a very exciting and an intense phase, but we want to get to market maturity maybe in 1 to 2 years, where there will be more brands, more products, and more communities, which will see these as one of the most interesting use cases within the blockchain space.
Interesting. Very, very interesting, because while you were explaining, you were able to cover the kind of partnerships that you guys have been able to establish and your ecosystem, and how
Yeah,
to have.
exactly. And in B2B, the difficulty, as you know, is always creating market confidence. So once you establish a certain level of confidence, it's more difficult to move from 0 to 1 than from 1 to 100 in B2B. So that's so important right now to establish the market trust and making sure to advocate and to ensure that the B2B communities are fully aware of the potential and the very limited risk. Because right now, most of the B2B think in risk, I would say, risk avoidance mode, saying, hey, blockchain or crypto is too volatile, so too early. But it will never be less than. When it will be less volatile than it is today, it will be less interesting and way less interesting. So at the end of the day, volatility is what drives growth in the space. And we need to, expand this vision to something that entrust B2B to come in the space and prosper as we do. So yeah, it's an interesting phase right now.
Yeah, it really is. Just because we are still on the topic, I wanted to know, how does XDB Chain ensure ease for non-technical users and businesses that intends to transition into Web3?
So first of all, we prioritize easy to access and low fees. That stays at fundamental level. So transacting on XDB Chain should be, cheaper than almost any other blockchain. We should be in the top when it comes down to speed, in terms of speed of transactions and the cost of transactions. I am getting bored when I have to make a payment using crypto, so an innovative layer, so I can pay with traditional rails, either wiring money or using credit card, traditional payment systems. So if I'm using a new one, it has to be X times better when it comes down speed and cost. Under no ground, this has to be worst, meaning slower and more expensive. So this means that this has to be on the top priority, and it is. So right now, transacting on an XDB chain network, it costs 0.000, so 4 times 0.1 XDB, which is the native coin of the chain. And 1 XDB is about 0.000678, it depends. There's volatility right now of $1. So which means is to perform a payment on the network, it costs less than 1 millionth of a dollar. So which means nothing. And in terms of speed, a payment transaction is executed in less than 3 seconds on average. The network generates blocks every 5 seconds, but we aggregate transaction within a block. So the network can process up to 10,000 transactions per second, which means all these parameters, which I just mentioned, pretty boring technical parameters, are met by the current state of development in the network. We are already working to advance speed, not needed right now. We don't have 1 million transactions per second. I wish I was, but we don't yet. And all in all, speed, cost of transactions are on top of the priority, and easy to access when it comes down to brands meaning B2B. They should not have any knowledge in terms of how to use the network, because essentially we provide a set of API when it comes down to payment transactions, when it comes down to tokenizing assets, when it comes down to building NFTs. Everything is just a network call, meaning that everything it's already built. So to answer to your question, there's no technical knowledge required right now to join the network, being a user or being a B2B, I would say, partner. Becoming a node operator, that's a little bit more complicated, because it means so potential a partner should run a node, meaning install all the libraries, and it's a kind of a framework. In order to join the network, there are 3 levels of roles within the network. One is a pure listener. Another one is essentially it's a node validator, and another one is being part of a quorum. Right now, we have enabled the access as a listener. It's very simple, accessing to the Frontier server. The second and the third, which I just mentioned, will be open in the coming months, but for the time being, the network is not actively seeking to enhance the governance level, at least in 2025. Beyond 2025, there will be something cool to happen with the B2B that joining the network, and we will unveil in the coming months. But for now, to answer to your question, it's pretty easy being a user or a B2B participants into the ecosystem.
Nice, thank you so much, and also appreciate you mentioning what you guys already have going on and the things that you guys plan to have in the future. You know, just trying to be realistic enough for brands or consumers that or those companies who are listening to know what you guys actually have to offer at the moment. It really goes a long way, because being transparent goes a very long way, people, our listeners.
Yeah,
So
ideally, we would like every brand user, so every company using the network becoming a node validator. That's, our goal. But it's not happening right now, because when it comes down to maintaining network access, on average, so B2B company have a very structured and complicated process. So even managing a couple of nodes in the network for them right now is getting complicated. By the time they use the network, and the network transactions represent a big share of transactions they're doing in their business, then it's justified for them to deploy node operators within the network and to have even more skin in the game. So in fact, the tokenized brand, let me call it like this, it's a way in the midterm to bring these companies not only to use the network because of tokenized interaction, but also to use the network because they become node participants. But it doesn't start from being node participants and then becoming, I would say, token participants. The token is a way to engage. It's a kind of a social contract to engage, in this case, a very, very valuable partner to enter the network, and then at later stage to become node operators. And I think this is what is going to happen progressively.
interesting, really interesting. So the next part of the question is, in terms of the branded tokens, I want to know, what role do branded tokens play in XDB chain ecosystem?
They play a pretty big role, because if you think about, I briefly explained the tokenomics, because at the end of the day, every project, the lifeblood of every project is how the tokenomic is designed. And as I said before, XDB Chain is a layer one. XDB is the native coin of XDB Chain. And the tokenomics of XDB Chain strongly depend by the speed of adoption, the speed of growth of the branded token. So let me explain. XDB token has a certain supply. So at the moment is about 18.9 billion tokens. Every quarter, there is a programmed burn event. So this means every quarter, the supply, both total and circulating supply of XDB is being reduced. But it's being reduced by a proportional amount of branded tokens, which are being sold to the market in exchange of dollars to buy back XDB, and those XDBs are being burned. Okay, so in fact, every branded token, for now we have one live and two are coming, pledge 2.5% of their supply. It's a fixed pledge. Every brand pledge 2.5% of the branded token to 16 burn events. Okay, so 2.5 divided 16 is 0 point something. Every event of the supply of the branded tokens, which are actively trading on the market, and they are being sold in exchange of dollars to buy XDB and then to burn XDB, which means that the more successful, the more branded tokens are on the market, the more XDBs are being burned, up to a level of 10 billion supply, which means that by the time XDB will get to 10 billion supply, at that moment in time, there will still be this pledge for each branded token, but this 2.5% over 4 years will be used to buy XDB and to add treasury. Supply doesn't change. So the overall supply stays, it will be capped at 10 billion. As for Bitcoin, it's 21 million. But in that case, the treasury will be increased and the contribution will be given by the branded token, which means that the branded token will provide a model that will sustain growth in perpetuity. One of the main issues of token projects is that, okay, they start, they grow, and they might grow very quick by any means, meaning on-chain adoptions, token distribution, and so on and so forth, market cap. But after a period of time, if all the tokens, which are supposed to be part of the project, are being distributed to the market, how the project can sustain for a period of 10 years or plus. Because at a certain point in time, this growth finishes, unless there's another stream that sustain or subsidize the project to grow. And this branded token, it's a kind of an engineering system which ensure the project not only can last for many years, but can keep on growing at a faster pace as soon as it's becoming more successful because these branded tokens are successful. So right now we are in this kind of ignition phase because we launched 1, 2 are coming. So, it's still at the beginning of the launch. That's why it's so important right now to do things properly. But by the time this is being triggered, so we expect a major growth phase. That has not yet arrived because we are pushing to build all the integration, the proper marketing, proper community management, and so on and so forth. But I think we have an unlimited potential of growth and unlimited sustainability horizon in front of us.
Nice. Thank you so much for the answer. And while you were explaining, you mentioned about your tokenomics, and I think one thing I wanted to mention was the deflationary tokenomics model that you guys are using. So maybe you could as well just put us through how many percent you guys born and the buybacks. How often do you guys have the buybacks and born, and how does these XDB Chain's deflationary tokenomics model work in a way that has positive impacts on your ecosystem?
Yeah, so I'll give an example. So I speak in numbers. So let's say we have the burn event, first of all, is fixed, is scheduled. It's every 3 months. Typically happens at the first day of the quarter, meaning 1st of January, 1st of April, 1st of July, 1st of October, and again, 1st of January. It's fixed every 3 months. So what we're doing is every 3 months, so there is a buyback process, which means we take each branded token pledge 2.5% of the supply, okay, 0.025, and enabled the repurchase of XDB over 16 burn events. So this means that every 3 months, we allocate a percentage of 0.15% of each token supply of each branded token. Now we have 1, and we are launching 2, so we will have 3 very soon. So, which means that every branded token allocate a percentage of its supply to be sold on the market in exchange of dollars. And then with these dollars, XDB are bought back and then burned. So the repurchase of XDB happens across 3 months, every 3 months. So this means almost every time. So XDBs are being repurchased because of the sale of these branded tokens on the market. And there is 2.5% of the branded token allocated to the support, to the pledge of XDB Chain. So far, I don't recall by heart how much tokens, so more than 100 million, sorry, I think 190 million tokens being burned because of the so-called BCO, or branded token repurchase process, buyback and burn, as we call it. But this process is expected to grow as a function of two parameters. Number one, how many branded tokens are on the network? The more branded tokens, the more burn. So for example, if you have 3 branded tokens running at the same time instead of 1, we burn 3 times as faster, okay? In very simple terms. Then there is a second acceleration factor, which is, we call it a market cap tier, which means that the more valuable in terms of market cap those branded tokens are, the more XDB tokens are being burned, because every branded token brings value to the network. It's a kind of value. It's a circular system of value creation, which of course, if you have a branded token, which is worth, I don't know, 200 million market cap in a network, which is worth 50 million, of course, this brings a lot of value. So it's fair to say that in this case, we need to burn more native coin, because the native coin should give more value to the branded token, which is, is providing a lot of value to the network. It's a kind of a feedback loop. And, all in all, it works like this. So every 3 months at the first of the quarter, a part of the branded token is a fixed amount, is being burned. Sorry, is being sold to the market in exchange of dollars, and then XDB repurchased and burned. This is how it works, the mechanic. How many XDBs are being burned? As I said before, it depends on the relative price between the branded token and the native coin. And so far, we burned more than 100 million, but this process will grow pretty steeply as the growth of the branded tokens increase in the market, on the ecosystem, and as the market cap of each branded token increase relative to XDB. So we want to make sure that the value creation is aligned, no matter who is growing faster, but is growing branded token relative to XDB, or XDB relative to branded token, the ecosystem wins, which means all the network participants. That's how this is very strong incentive system has been designed.
Thank you so much for answering that question. So what I want to ask next is, how does XDB Chain enable Web3 payment systems, and what are its key advantages over competition?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, there's something I can say and something I cannot say. So what I can say is that accepting, it seems to be counterintuitive, but it's not for those which are in the space. So if you are a merchant, so if you are, let's say, selling products and goods and services, and you accept crypto, it depends very much in the jurisdiction where you are. Because, for example, being in US, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Middle East, is very different when it comes down to regulation, when it comes down to risk appetite. And I give you an average case. So merchants, they don't want to deal with the volatility in their books, which means that if they sell a pair of shoes and the pair of shoes is $50, they just want to make sure they have $50 in the bank account as soon as someone is paying. The fact that someone is accepting crypto, it should be a plus for them. So if today they make 100 transactions a month, they want to make 110, or they want to sell more for those 100. So crypto, it's a perfect segment, because the average crypto payer pay more than the average fiat payer. So the fact that a merchant accepts crypto, it means more value it means that the person that comes with a Web3 wallet, he brings a higher value transaction to them. So they need to have a solution which enable them to accept crypto, but at the same time enable them, if they want, to convert this crypto into fiat. And this is what the payment solution, which has been natively integrated in the network, enables. So you are a merchant, you want to sell a pair of shoes, $100, fine. When you do checkout, essentially, you as a merchant select what type of payment you want to enable. You say, okay, crypto. In that case, there will be a multiple choice, which crypto you want to use. And for example, you want to pay in XDB, there will be a QR code which is being displayed on the device. And in that case, transaction is being done in real time on chain. And the merchant will receive instantaneously dollars in the bank account. So, and at the end of the day, this solution enables the exchange and the transactions in the bank account, and they don't have to deal with the crypto in their balance sheet. If they want to hold crypto, so if you want to sell a pair of shoes priced $100 and they want to have the relative amount in XDB tokens into the wallet, and then they want to recognize revenues in crypto, that's perfectly fine. It's even better for us. But in fact, what we do see here is most they don't. So essentially, and I'm not talking about there are some countries where, crypto to crypto payments are very welcome, Southeast Asia, Africa. But in Europe and US, it doesn't happen very commonly. And that's why we enabled this solution to provide flexibility of crypto to fiat or crypto to crypto at almost inexistent fees.
Nice. So I'm just going to ask a few more questions and then I'll start taking some community questions. A question about security. What measures are in place to ensure the security of transactions and prevent exploits or attacks on the XDB chain network?
Well, I mean, there are different type of security threats addressed by audits that we're regularly doing, but essentially there are two type of risks, as a macro. One, it's a physical attack, meaning attack to the infrastructure, and the other one is social engineering attacks. So, meaning someone which exploits a kind of failure, a bug in the software in XDB code. We never had so far a single attack for different reasons. We have been attacked physically on the network hundreds of times. On average, we have more than one attack per day on the infrastructure. So someone was trying with sophisticated attacks to penetrate in the network, not necessarily because they want to exploit, but most of the time is just to create kind of a denial of service, meaning preventing others to accept the network and creating financial damage to the network participants, because you cannot use the network. In that case, you might not rely a network which is not working, and essentially in the future, you will transact less as you used to. And in that case, you create a direct financial damage to the network. So this is something which happens very typically, meaning people trying to shut down the network in simple terms. And the network is very well designed to prevent this type of attacks that we have on a regular basis. And of course, this is, this type of risks are always analyzed, and there is a risk awareness, risk response program that we run. We have a fantastic DevOps team handling this. So yeah, we have it as any blockchain, but so far it went pretty well. When it comes down to code exploitation, well, the code is open source. It's public on GitHub. So the main library, we use one big chunk of the former code of Stellar blockchain, and we forked into XDB Chain. So we are working several routines on a monthly basis to ensure, safety is on top. And so far we have not encountered any problem. So I think in over 12 months time, I think we had a couple of hours downtime because of an infrastructure issue. It's an issue on the database, not because of a threat triggered by external or malicious parties. So to this extent, I'm pretty proud of the SLA I can share with the community.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think the last question I have for you are, what marketing plans are you guys implementing or integrating to attract these brands, these consumers, these audience that would actually, tend to use this utilities, this mechanisms, these things that you guys have in place for them to, use to their full potential. So what marketing plans have you guys employed? And you could also share with us the upcoming features or updates planned for the XDB chain platform.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. So first of all, when it comes down to general marketing, it's important to position what you are doing and how what you stand for. So XDB chain, when it comes down to in which category it fits the most, I'm talking about crypto category. We feel that it fits the most, and this is how it's been labeled so far, as a real world assets, RWA. Real world assets is one of the category which is set to explosive growth in crypto because it's simple to understand, because it holds real value, because it's projected to last over time. Those three characteristics makes the story of XDB Chain very compelling. And that's why it's so important to speak of XDB Chain as a real world asset, as a real world blockchain. So essentially all the marketing, when it comes down marketing, I'm talking about awareness. They're very focused on building awareness surrounding something that people can understand, which is, okay, if you're talking about a real world blockchain, it means it's a blockchain used in the real world, meaning there are real world use cases which leverage this blockchain. Okay, it's interesting. Okay, what type of use case there are? Okay, payment, we already discussed. Second one is GameFi or gaming. So we launched a few months ago an alpha version of a native blockchain game. It's called XDB's game, in order to leverage the attachment and the passion of the community of the XDB chain project called XDBs. Essentially, we created a game surrounding bees, and with the goal of the game to harvest or to produce honey inside the game. And the game is one of the first which is natively integrated on the chain, and it integrates a wallet, and the wallet enables for every transaction the game is doing to trigger a transaction on the blockchain. So essentially, the marketing it's focused at expanding, the branded focus of XDB chain, which is low to grow, but when it comes, it's getting big and explosive. But the real power of the narrative is how XDB chain can really build value because it's a real world asset. And then obviously the whole marketing is about connecting XDB chain as a real world asset, and why is a real world asset, and why it's set to last over time. And the GameFi ecosystem, it's one of the steep growth axis. It's faster than payment, 100% sure, because it provides a set of world first, as we call it, use case on chain, which grow way quicker than traditional BB channels and payment infrastructure. That's why combining all these elements together, we have identified several tactical and growth activities within the marketing to expand. I would call it each sub ecosystem, like GameFi, real world assets, branded tokens, and the payment infrastructure. All these labeled, marketed within XDB chain umbrella, in order to create awareness. At this stage, our goal is to make sure people understand the fundamentals, truly understand the fundamentals and the limitless potential of this chain and all the initiatives we're building surround. We are still in building mode. We're building a lot. And at this moment in time, we don't want to push too much money on, for example, on partnership. I'm talking about, premier activities, one brands in terms of marketing collaboration, to position XDB Chain as the biggest in the world. We just want to position nicely, as I said before, mostly within the crypto community. And by the time we can stand up in front of anyone by any possible and actionable means when it comes down to hardcore KPIs, I'm talking about on-chain, then we can really scream loud. And then we can really go to the next level of marketing. For now, we just want to make sure we bring at least 1 million of users on chain. Right now, we are about less than 100,000 people. And by the time, so the gaming axis of growth is the one that will provide a steeper adoption on chain, as well as users of the brands that are committed to use the chain. So those two axes will bring users on chain, and obviously we leverage the narrative of providing awareness with partnership like the one we're doing with you right now, expanding the awareness of XDB Chain, saying, hey, it's an interesting project, let me follow. Let me see whether these guys are doing what they're saying to do. Because if they do what they're doing, is interesting. And this is beyond, there are tons of projects, interesting projects in crypto, but there are many projects that start today and that they no longer exist 2 days after. This is project which is built to last over multi-year time horizon. So that's why I'm so excited to be here today to give you, tons of details so as you can digest all of them and then, follow the project and engage with us and be part of our growth phase.
Yeah, sure. So, guys, now we are moving over to the community questions, and we have seen a lot of questions dropped on the comment section. The first question here says, how does XDB Chain minimize latency in high-frequency tokenized assets transaction?
Well, I mean, high frequency tokenized transaction, it depends very much on the use case. But as I said before, our infrastructure and the protocol itself are capable to handle 10,000 transactions per second right now. And by introducing, we have not yet done it on the mainnet, but we have it on testnet, a layer 2 solution, we're able to scale to 1.19 million transactions per second. So I don't think latency is a problem for us right now. So, and when it comes down, so frequency of payment, I would say this is much more about, the trading of tokens. This is a problem that we have already addressed in the sense that XDB Chain natively integrate DEX, so decentralized exchange, at the protocol level. So essentially, there are native functions on the protocol which enable peer-to-peer trading with the addition of a liquidity pool. So as long as we stay within the limit I just mentioned, thousands of transactions per second, then we can handle it by just scaling the infrastructure. Beyond this level, so 10,000 per second, then the solution is to deploy, we call it mainnet version 20. Right now we have 19 in production, which will scale up to 1.19 on a layer 2. Essentially, we have to migrate, for example, a DEX that we will be releasing over the next weeks. So essentially, we just have to migrate some functionalities of a DEX. Instead of using standard protocol functions, we're going to use, I would say, modified calls, API calls, which act at the layer 2, which essentially will aggregate more calls at the same time to enable more transactions instead of going directly on the network and calling one by one for each transaction. So yeah, we already addressed these as part of a protocol upgrade that we'll do no sooner than in the second semester of this year. But yeah, engineering wise, this is already in testnet.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. The next one here says, when XDB or CB Pay will be available on XZ Change, and when will SBX be launched and available in exchanges?
Yeah. So the first question is, Easy Change is a great partner. For those that don't know what Easy Change is, Easy Change is it's a very, very good platform which aggregates almost every mobile method of payment in Africa, plus is also a crypto exchange, and is having a pretty big community of more than 700 people on the platform, and essentially is aggregating different methods of payments and is streamlining them through the platform. And it's focused in Africa, Francophone Africa, mostly. So we have announced a couple of weeks ago a partnership with them, and then we started kind of a giveaway campaign last week for a week time. So before enabling the trading of the assets, we just want to make sure we have good response from the community in terms of awareness. So typically, what happens, I do see that sometimes assets are being launched too quick on a platform like exchanges, where community is not even aware that those assets are on the exchange. And this happens more and more often. So for example, centralized exchange, even big one, tier 1, tier 2, they list sometimes of 4 to 5 tokens per day with no awareness. So you might assume that some of the people that follow that token, they will be aware that this token is going to that exchange because they follow the social media of the token. But the new ones on the trade on the exchange, they might not be aware that there is a new token because there are too many coming. So this means when this is coming, I cannot really tell the date. We are working to make sure there is a good response for the community to create awareness about the assets. So in this case, XDB and CBPay, which is one of the branded tokens. By the time awareness is reached, could be weeks time, and then token is being released on the platform. Can you repeat the second question?
Yeah. Then I think the second one says, when will SBX be launched and available in exchanges?
Okay, so SBX is a second branded token that has been announced months ago, and it will be released, but it's being delayed. And every time I promise a date, then I have to come back and say, no, we're not. So it's coming, blah, 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 whatever. So we are working to make it happen, now, not yesterday, not in a month time. We're working as hard as we can to relieve it as quick as we can. I don't want to anticipate a date, but we are right now working to release it. So it might be a month, might be 1 week, it might be months. I cannot know. I don't know the precise date because there are different I would say dependencies on it because there is a big organization in the back, but we are working to make it happen as quick as we can. We're not waiting. We're not in waiting mode. We're not in idle mode. We're just waiting clearance to make sure by the time it's launched, nothing is set back. And we just want to make sure everything is moving smoothly by the time it's being launched. So apologies because it's quite some time. We wanted to launch, has been delayed and delayed, but we're working to make it happen as quick as we can. It will not. So I've been requested to confirm whether it will come or will not come. So there's no doubt it will come, and it takes more time than we initially anticipated because of the complexity of organization. But Sandbox is a great partner. We will do it.
It's interesting to know. We know how, the kind of amount of work it requires to build a particular development, a particular utility, both in terms of finances, bringing the right people on board to ensure it's a success, then building a utility that is simply going to, rob people of their money. So we definitely understand if all the time is needed to build a particular utility, the community just has to understand the reason. If it's a very valid reason, then they should be able to be patient and cooperate So it leads to the success of that particular utility. So I think another question here is how does XDB chain handle on-chain and off-chain data synchronization for asset-backed tokens?
But that's a good question. So in order to explain this, I just need to explain what does it mean asset-backed token, because there is an ongoing discussion right now with CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, mostly, to align the definition of what a real-world asset is or an asset-backed token is. So in order to answer to this question, I have to explain two things. Number one, what is an asset? And number two, what type of assets can be tokenized? So number one, what is an asset? It's an asset, anything can hold and retain a financial value, okay? So if you hold something which does not have a financial value, you cannot consider an asset. So it's very broad definition. Asset can be almost anything, physical, non-physical. Secondly, what is an asset-backed token? It means it's a token that somehow contains a link to that asset. Again, can be physical or can be non-physical. Right now, the first asset-backed token are tokenized the representation of physical items like real estate, okay, in some countries. This use case, it's a use case, in my view, it's is not mature because of the complexity of the land registry, of the real estate registry in every and any jurisdiction in the world. So blockchain is meant to work everywhere. It's not like I'm tokenizing an asset because I have a specific regulatory framework in, I don't know, Dubai, Emirate, but I cannot do it in Abu Dhabi, or I cannot do it in the Oman, or I cannot do it in Bahrain, okay? So what our goal is to make sure everything is tokenized, is valid in every country in the world, no matter what. And the way we came with the solution is we tokenize branded interactions, meaning the brand gives us rights of tokenizing. Rights of tokenizing, it means at the end of the day is a contract, okay, which establish a formal relationship which include a brand and an organization, which wrap this value in a token, okay? So that's why we call it, these tokens or the branded tokens are intangible assets. They're not tangible because you cannot touch them. They're intangible because they represent an entity you cannot touch, which is a brand. So a brand has a value. So Coca-Cola worth billions of billions. So then how much is worth a branded token of a brand which is worth 100 billion? A lot. I don't know how much, but it's worth a lot, okay? We are the first in the world to introducing this. So if I have a brand and your brand is worth 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, you create a tokenized version of your brand and you enable interactions in the Web3. So your brand acquires a value in the Web3. Today it doesn't have it. Today it has a value because there is someone which says that your brand is worth 100. But now, tomorrow, once you create the branded token, your brand is worth 100 plus the value of the token, which is 100 plus. We are building this economy. We are the first in the world at doing this. So the asset, the backed token, is the value of the tokenized interaction with the brand and the blockchain. And that's why we believe this market is worth trillions of dollars, because today it does not exist, and because the Web3 is going to grow massively in the futures, and all this market value will be captured. And we want to be the first to do it, and we want to be the biggest to do it. So that's why, for us, asset-backed token is our own definition of what is an asset and what is a token. I hope I answered the question. Which is very good, by the way.
Yeah, sure, you did. Thank you so much for answering those questions, and thank you so much for the community for bringing out such meaningful questions. It shows that you guys are able to listen through the AMA and also have time to do your own research through their website. So this will be wrapping up the AMA as we have spent far enough time. And guys, ensure you join their socials so you can get updates about XDB Chain. They have something great going on. And don't forget to still do your own research, because we are not giving any financial advice, but this AMA is just a way for us to be able to dive into different utilities that each of these amazing projects has to offer, and for you to get better understanding about what they plan to offer to investors, consumers, companies, industries globally. So, Finn, before I wrap up the AMA, before I close down the VC, I'd like to give you a chance to give a final concluding statement.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you very much for hosting this. It's very professional, of a good quality. Sometimes when we do voice AMA, it's always a pain. And this time it was pretty neat. And so I have to congratulate for how you set this up, not to be discounted. So shout out. And I want also to thank the community of Gold Diggers. And I've seen, obviously, before deciding to do this AMA, we ran an internal due diligence process, and we've seen very thorough process within your community, and we've seen a good match. So hopefully this is, first AMA. Hopefully we can do more things together. And so I'm proud to be here today. And as a final statement here, and I think Web3, blockchain, and project like ours in general, of course, we come from multi-years experience in the space. And I don't want to say that we know everything, but I can say that right now we never had. There's no second best time than now to step in the space and to take actions, get an information about projects, and decide which project to follow, how to be educated. At the end of the day, what we want to do, we want to inspire a new generation of leaders to take actions to bring users on chain. And that's what inspires us to build things and to bring meaningful brands in the space to make the space bigger, healthier, and better. That's what inspires us, and that's why I'm here today. Not talking about jargon, but specifically talking on how we're doing, what we're doing, and how we want to inspire you to build with us and be part of our community. So thank you very much for the opportunity in having us today.
All right, thank you so much. Shout out to your team as well. You guys are doing a very great job, and we hope that in the future, as you keep developing new utilities, new things into your ecosystem, we hope to have you again at Gold Diggers, because this is the kind of project we want our audience to listen to and to get engaged with. Thank you so much once again. Thank you all for the community for listening out, sending in questions. We really appreciate it. It was a very amazing section with you. All right. See you guys in the next AMA tomorrow and next tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.